The Ink and Paint Club podcast is intended for mature audiences only, so don't tell your parents! Listener discretion is advised.
The Dimsdale Dimmadome?
Doug Dimmadome?
Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome?
That's right.
The very same Doug Dimmadome who's running Crash Nebula?
Oh, nice.
You're listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast, your weekly home for animation reviews and discussions.
Alrighty, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Ink and Paint Club podcast. My name is JD, and joining me as usual are my two good friends. First off, Mr. Kyle.
It's me.
And Mr. Matt.
Hello. The world is on fire, but we're here to talk about cartoons.
Yeah, you know, the world may be falling apart around us, but we're still here to talk about the cartoons that you care about, or maybe don't. I don't know your life. But HBO Max is a thing, guys. We needed another streaming service. And HBO is like, you know what? We're going to make new Looney Tunes shorts, and we're going to try to make them like kind of in the style of like the really old ones from like the 30s and 40s and shit. And then they did it.
Sons of bitches, they did it.
Nah, they did the thing. I mean, yeah. If I can say anything for these, I wasn't unfortunately able to get through all of them. But they definitely have a modern like sensibility when it comes to some animation techniques and maybe some of the writing style. But it's definitely in the spirit of those old shorts. And I think that's, you know, kind of the point.
We hadn't really had a fucking as far as like more recent Looney Tunes projects that have cropped up. I'm trying to think like the last one before this was Wabbit, right? And that was more like I'm actually not entirely sure because I never sat down and watched that one, but I heard it wasn't that popular. But
yeah,
the one before that was like Looney Tunes Show, which was like the sitcom-y one, which I did watch a bit of, and I actually did enjoy that. Thought it was kind of like an interesting take on the Looney Tunes stuff. Aside from those, though, I mean, aside from like Looney Tunes Back in Action, Duck Dodgers, Space Jam, like they haven't really had like a continuing series that was like reminiscent of like the old theatrical shorts, right?
We had Lunatics Unleashed.
We try to forget Lunatics Unleashed.
Were we just talking about that the other day? I was saying we should cover that someday.
Over my dead body. Yeah, I mean, I remember someone on Twitter. There was a video going around about people complaining about like, oh, these digital animators, they don't know how to draw. I mean, you could definitely tell some of the animation has a little bit of puppet in it, but like this is really like well done animation wise. I think it's like really expressive, like a lot of like really good action. There's
a lot of good posing. There's a lot of
that's what I meant. Yes, thank you.
There's a bunch of good expression work. Just like the stylization on this is like, you know, unique to itself, but still reminiscent of like the old stuff. Honestly, yeah, because I'd seen people complaining about like two things. Like one was fucking like, oh, the presence of tweens at all. And it's like, you know, fucking listen. If they were doing the original Looney Tunes now, are you acting like they wouldn't be using tweens? Like they're fucking using them because it makes their job easier. And it's like, even to like the general audience that doesn't like watch, you know, tons of cartoons. I mean, it's not like they're going to nitpick that type of shit. It's like, it looks fine. Like regardless, like even the tweening is fine, but like the rest, like 95% of the rest of the show is like all, you know, they're not necessarily hand drawn, but it's like, you know, it's not like it's not puppet animation in the same way that like fucking any like Canadian Flash cartoons like puppet animation, you know, like yeah, it's like it's totally different. So that was the complaint that I was hearing about it, and then the second one was well, actually, okay, so 3 complaints, and then the second was like some of the writing stuff, which I can kind of understand. Like, it seems like for the most, yeah, it seems like for the most part they kind of nailed. Like, I think it really depends on the short. They kind of got like the writing style for like a lot of the characters down and everything, but then there's like some instances where it's like, maybe the joke went on a little bit too long, or maybe this could have gone like without as much talking or without as much fourth wall breaking.
But like, there's the Siberian Sam one.
Yeah.
And he spends like the first 3 minutes talking to the camera, and it's like, all right, you don't really need to explain it too much.
Yeah, that was like one of those excessive things.
The roller coaster one, there's a lot of dialogue in that too, where it's like, it's not really needed. But I mean, still, it doesn't take away from anything.
No, absolutely not.
Everything. It's
like I said,
entertainment.
If you're gonna fucking like nitpick stuff, that's the type of stuff that they're doing. The third thing is like, I can kind of understand too, is that some people say like the voice work maybe isn't all there. I, for one, think that like they do a really good job of doing these characters justice. Like, I think, what was it, Eric Baza does Bugs and Daffy, and like
he does Tweety too.
Just Tweety too. Like, and honestly, I feel like the performances on all those characters are like really dead on. Like, especially Daffy. Like, maybe for Tweety and Bugs, like, just because I'm so used to hearing like Mel Blanc's, or like, I guess whoever the more recent, was it Billy West doing Bugs now, or
Eric's been doing him for a while. I think Billy did him in like Space Jam,
right?
Yeah. And then D Baker was Daffy in that,
right. I would say like all the voice stuff's like all really, really good as well. Like, but I can see why people might have like some nitpicky stuff about it.
Isn't it fucking wild that one man did all those voices, and now they need like one person a character? Like,
I mean, that's why they called him the man of 1,000 voices. So
yeah, fucking Mel Blanc was an anomaly.
I gotta give credit to Baza though, because he's becoming pretty fucking ranged. Like, he can do a lot of fucking stuff.
Oh yeah, I will say my only voice complaint, and it got fixed pretty fast, is I think like the first Tweety cartoon, the first like minute of dialogue with Tweety, it sounded like almost exactly like his Bugs voice.
Right.
But he started getting to more like Tweety's inflect, like kind of mannerisms in his speech, and he kind of got more into that character. And when I saw other Tweety shorts, like it was no problem. It was just like in that one instance, in the first time they showed up, it just sounded a little too similar. But
speaking of Tweety, I would say, oh, actually, you know what? Let's bring this up. So, JD, you said you didn't get through all of them. And Kyle, did you get through all of them too, or did you?
I watched about 7 out of 10, I think.
Okay.
It's about as far as I got to. Yeah,
I was able to blow through all of it, but like from the shorts that you guys saw, what would you say is like your favorite one that you saw?
Kyle, I'll let you go first.
I really liked is it Sam the sheepdog? What's the
it's like Ralph and Sam. Yeah, the dog and the wolf.
There was a few jokes that made me laugh out loud with them, because I do like them a lot.
The bit with the where they had like the static electricity, and like he just keeps on ramming himself into his fist. It was really good.
That was a really good one. I did like the Siberian Sam one a lot too, because I don't know, it's great. I think Yosemite Sam is great. The arm wrestling one had some pretty good jokes in it. Made me laugh out loud. It's where it's like, even if you had a really, like, I don't know, if you were super autistic about the fucking animation and all this, the writing is still really great.
Yeah, it's still very reminiscent of like that old style, and I think that was what they set out to do. And I'd say that like they pretty much nailed it for the most part.
Yeah,
it's got.
What about you, JD?
It's got the retro look, but it's got very modern jokes, and that's what I think is really great.
Much in the same way that like those Mickey shorts did, and I wonder if they made this as kind of like not necessarily a response, but more of like a, hey, fucking, it worked out for them to kind of do like a more modern take on the old style, like, you know, let's give it a shot.
I kind of feel that way because the Looney Tunes characters have become more of like a clothing brand now.
Oh, yeah, totally. Ever since fucking Space Jam.
Oh god.
Yeah. So it's good to see them in the limelight again.
It's good to see them not like with Bugs Bunny on a shirt in a profile view wearing a suit with a gun.
Yeah.
With
Or in gangster in like baggy gangster clothes.
Yeah, like Tweety and Gangsta. You know what? When I was a kid, I'm almost certain I owned a fucking shirt with like Tweety Bird and fucking baggy like hip hop clothes. If I remember right.
The 90s were a wild time, everybody.
Wild. Yeah, JD, what about you?
So I mean, there's a lot of like really good stuff going on here. I will say some of my favorites were the ones that involve Daffy and Porky. Like I really like the Firehouse one.
Those are
just the amount of time, the amount of gags they got out of sliding down a fire pole is fucking crazy. And I also really liked the first Roadrunner Coyote cartoon. I don't know why. And I was watching this with Melanie, and she says she really doesn't like the Roadrunner shorts because they're the same joke every time. And while I definitely agree with that, it's how they reiterate on that joke is why it's funny.
Yeah, because the one that you're referring to specifically is the one where he draws like the hole in the wall, right?
Yeah, and it's like, and I love that little subversion that they do where he like, you know, you've seen him do it 1,000 times where he paints a hole in a wall and the Roadrunner runs right through it. He's like, wait, that works. He runs straight into the wall. This time he actually goes through the hole.
Then he gets stuck in it.
Yeah, he can't come back out.
That was definitely a fun little subversion.
Oh.
I actually really hated those shorts as a kid because to me they didn't make sense. They didn't follow logic, which is really fucking dumb at the time.
Right.
It's Looney Tunes. They don't follow logic.
Yeah, exactly. But it kind of reminds me, and I'm wondering what came out first, but it has a lot of Spy versus Spy, the jokes and stuff like that. But that's more classic stuff.
Well,
I think they only did.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, they only did like 2 shorts, Roadrunner.
I only saw the
series,
one. I don't know if
they did. They did just the 2 Roadrunner Wile E. Coyote shorts, if I remember right. Because there was this one, and there was the one where he had like the big vacuum, right?
I don't know if I got to that one.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's one where he has like this big vacuum that's like said "super suck" on it, and like he gets a bunch of cactuses and like, yeah,
you know, I mean, all these pretty much all of these shorts are. It's like it's very like 2-sided like protagonist antagonist kind of thing because you got like Tweety and Sylvester, you got the Roadrunner and Coyote, and you got Bugs versus, you know, who the fuck ever they want to pair him up with.
Sam usually.
But the reason I've always really liked the Roadrunner shorts is because unlike those other ones, the Roadrunner is almost like superfluous to anything that's going on. Like he's very, very rarely even bothered or even notices what the Coyote is doing, and all the Coyote's downfalls is only because of himself.
Brought down by his own hubris.
Yes, exactly. And all the wonderful products from Acme. But I don't know. It's just like it's so I find it funny, just like how very one-sided their relationship is versus everyone else. It's like very clearly a back and forth.
Yeah, that was one thing I wanted to bring up, is that a lot of the cartoons is usually antagonist, protagonist. There's always usually a central goal that needs to be like obtained. And then like the new Mickey Mouse shorts, it's kind of just like whatever. And that's kind of like the difference with that. But there's no right or wrong answer in it. They're both very entertaining in their own right. But it was something I did notice.
I don't know if you guys noticed this or even were bothered by it. And maybe the old shorts were like this too, but I was almost starting to feel like some of
They were
these
using
short
the dynamite a lot.
that yes, Bugs likes to use dynamite a lot. I almost felt like they were kind of mean spirited a little bit.
No.
Especially with like almost exclusively with Bugs, I felt like it was getting a little too mean spirited. Just in their plots. Because like the one where he goes to visit the doctor and he has his whole thing with Gossamer is like
Right.
he
He
broke into their house to like they're fully within the right to get him the fuck out. And then we're the one where he's trying to use Elmer's pool and it's like Elmer wasn't doing shit.
Yeah.
And he just comes up and just like upends his entire way of life. And I'm like,
You got to think of it like this way too. That's pretty much 100% Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Like, it's got a little bit of that Tom and Jerry DNA in it now, which is like, I guess in this day and age, like you can't just like rely on the same exact type of slapsticky stuff that was really surprising back then. Like you kind of, but not get too excessive with it. You don't want to start going into like, like Ren and Stimpy territory with the Looney Tunes. Like you want to like, toe that line a little bit.
So one joke that I noticed that they did a lot, and it doesn't really bother me, but they used like the skin peeling off and skeletons and stuff like that. They used that quite a bit.
I remember them doing that in the roller coaster one with Sam, and then in the bubblegum short with the Daffy.
Yeah, and then they did it with the Siberian one. He gets hit with dynamite and his skin flies off. It's like his skeleton's there and then his muscle down and then his skin. They use that joke quite a bit in there.
In the same vein that I was mentioning, like, there's a lot of fucking dynamite in this show. Like, I'm just wondering, like, it's been a while since I've really watched classic Looney Tunes. Like, the last time I regularly watched it was a kid, but I'm like thinking, how often was this stuff actually being used? Like, as far as like dynamite as a gag or skeletons as a gag, that sort of thing. Like, and if they're just using it that.
So the skeleton thing is pretty recent. I feel it's something that they could probably get away with now. Yeah. Over back then. The dynamite is like almost staple though, because if you guys remember, I think maybe 2 years before this premiered, they did it was like a dynamite dance or something with Bugs and Elmer.
Oh,
and
right. It wasn't like CG and stuff.
No, it was for this series.
I was surprised it wasn't in this. I might be coming in a later batch. I don't know. I was surprised it wasn't in this first batch because that was the first thing that we saw from it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, pretty weird.
But yeah, they use that quite often. That was kind of, I guess, their big joke, ending out with a bang in a sense.
I was kind of surprised there wasn't as much like anvils or pianos dropping and shit, like because that was the thing I remember there being a lot more of than Dynamite back then. But I could just be my memory being a bit skewed.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that. Like,
that's how they killed Eddie's brother.
They did.
Remember me?
Kyle, I'm looking at the episode list here on Wikipedia, and it does have the Dynamite dance like as a future episode to air. So they might just include it with something else.
Okay, that makes sense.
So was there a full Marvin episode? Because I was kind of hoping.
No.
It looks like Marvin was just like little interstitials between shorts.
Right. Okay. So that was something we forgot to mention is that there's usually like 2 featured shorts in each like individual episode. And then there's like little interstitial like stuff. So there's stuff with like, but the thing is they keep on reusing the same setting and then it's different every time. So like there's like one scene it's with Elmer chasing Bugs and then they have like 3 of those and they all end differently. And there's like 3 different ones of Marvin like going to a planet and like trying to put a flag down and like the gags like related to that.
Right. So yeah. So it's like, each short itself is only like 5 minutes long, and then they have like a 30-second little whatever in between it. So I mean, these episodes aren't that long. You can bust through them pretty fast, even though Kyle and I didn't.
Yeah, like I think if you binged the whole batch that they put out, it's like just around 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I definitely do want to get around to watching the rest of these because it is fun. I will say, at least from what I watched, I think they definitely were starting to overuse Tweety and Sylvester, only because I do think that's kind of a one-note joke.
I feel like even back when I was watching Looney Tunes as a kid, I think maybe the Tweety Sylvester stuff wasn't like my favorite of the Looney Tunes stuff here. And it's the same here too. I felt like the Tweety Sylvester stuff might have been some of the weakest stuff, even though there's some good stuff in there. But I feel like when you chalk it up to like I was going to mention earlier when you were talking about your favorite episode being like, what was it, the firefighter one? I was just going to say, as far as like my favorite episode, I don't know that I necessarily have a favorite just yet, but I know if I did, it would be something involving Daffy and Porky, just because they're like the best stuff of like this cartoon is the stuff involving Daffy or Daffy and Porky.
Yeah,
like,
I mean they came out swinging with the first episode. I fucking love that entire sequence. When Porky and Daffy get to the temple and Daffy's just pulling shit and like Porky's just constantly getting hammered, which is one thing like after another. I was fucking rolling watching that.
I think my favorite individual gag from any of these was a tie between the bubblegum episode with Daffy, where like he gets like all tangled up and like he's stuck on the ground and then like a bunch of little tiny Daffys come up and it's like a Gulliver's Travels thing. Like, dude,
yeah. I started laughing at that and Mel's like did not understand why it was funny.
So it was between that and during the firefighter episode where they're like trying to put on the clothes and they keep on like bringing the other one back to like put on the clothes, and then like they end up in the same pair of clothes, and Daffy's like, "I'm not a fireman, I'm a monster."
Yeah,
like, it was between those two bits. I think it's like my favorite of the batch.
Yeah,
I think the ones that got the most laughs out of me was the arm wrestling where Sam's ass was out. It's just made me laugh because it was one of those Ren and Stimpy type painted stills.
Yeah,
had like a nice bubble butt, and then the where it was Sam and Ralph with the balloon where he did the static electricity.
Yeah,
and just the way he pops it with his fist and just starts socking him was really cool and really funny at the same time. Just got a lot of enjoyment out of that.
Yeah. No, this is filled with just really good gags. Like, yeah, they totally nailed it with this. I'm definitely looking forward to when any future ones come out.
Yeah, I think they said like in June or July is when the next batch is supposed to come out.
Oh, that's cool. See, the thing with that, I don't know if it really ruins it or not, because I think that was the big joke in the original series was that they worked together. And I think that was like the big laugh of that. They didn't show that at the beginning, did they? That was kind of like the post ending.
No, they did.
Well, I mean, for the old ones.
If I remember right, maybe not in every single short they did, but I do remember them kind of bookending the episodes like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember so much about them like clocking in, but I definitely remember the gag at the end of where they're punching out, and they're like, "Good night, Sam."
And I do like that because I mean they even made a fucking video game based on that. That's really
I was thinking about that when I was watching it too. I was like, didn't they do a video game just about these two characters? I was like, that's such a weird like pick of like any game to do like to like base around like a Looney Tunes segment to do it around those. Like that was just so bizarre.
They made a few Duck Dodgers too. It was called Sheep Raider. Yeah. Jeez, it's so silly.
I remember owning like a Bugs Bunny game for the Genesis, but I don't remember what it was called.
Like Crazy Castle?
No, it was more like, I think it was like a bunch of scenarios from the shorts, but it was like, actually, I don't know. Yeah, I can't remember.
Because they had a Porky Pig game on Super Nintendo. It was like the Haunted House or something like that.
Right.
They made a lot of fucking games.
Yeah, man. But
Double Trouble. That's what it was called.
Well, there you go.
One thing I do want to say though is like I remember when the Looney Tunes show came out and they showed like all the characters and stuff. It was kind of neat to see them in that style.
Yeah.
in this one, I absolutely love how everybody's drawn. Like Sylvester and like Wile E. Coyote and I think it's Sam.
They look a lot more
no.
sinister. It's more a bit more.
They really do, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like the sort of different stylistic takes on them definitely benefit their sort of behavior and stuff in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks very aesthetically pleasing.
Even Gossamer, I really like Gossamer as a character too.
I feel like Gossamer looked like not even that much different. I feel like his design was pretty on point from like the originals. Like I think maybe just the eyes, like there might have been like a little from certain shots, like it might have been a bit different. But I feel like Gossamer like was just straight up like just how he's always been.
Well, all right, now there's a couple things that I feel out of place in these shorts, and I don't know if it's like really that big a deal. It's not really that big a deal or not, but there's certain like animals kind of stand out to me. They don't seem like they fit too well with the style, because like with Sylvester in the zoo, the gorilla really stood out. It didn't feel like a Looney Tunes character.
Yeah,
and kind of like when Sam's in Russia, the tiger didn't really have that Looney Tunes feel either.
I could definitely agree with that. Yeah, specifically the gorilla, it kind of reminded me of like a John Kay drawing a bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's posing or anything. It really looked awkward.
Yeah. Pretty weird. But I mean, as far as like the main characters go, the stylization is definitely on point.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, I mean, shit. Is there anything else we really need to talk about in regards to this? I mean,
no. I mean, all I can really say is that I'm really looking forward to watching more of this. And like, if you're even remotely a fan of like old school Looney Tunes, I think this is like right up your alley. Like, I think they did a really good job with those.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely worth a watch. If you've got HBO Max, if you're like on a free trial or whatever, and you were kind of on the fence about it, if you're a fan of animation, definitely check it out. I mean, I feel like just in general lately, like Warner Brothers has been really killing it with like the traditional animation. Besides this, there was the Mortal Kombat one that they just did. There was the Green Eggs and Ham show they did for Netflix.
I forgot that was Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
I'm kind of interested in seeing because there's been zero news, zero art, anything about how Animaniacs is going to be.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I totally forgot about that. I thought you were going to say Space Jam 2.
Because I mean, we know people that have worked on that show, and from my understanding, it's done. Maybe it's been a 1-season run or something, but there's been no news or anything on that.
We've only seen like one still from it, right?
I don't even know if that's like canned art or anything, like clip art or what.
Well, it'll be interesting to see like what other Warner Brothers animation stuff like comes out in the future, because they've definitely been killing it lately. Like, just between this and Green Eggs and Ham specifically, like to have like a continuing series look as good as these do from episode to episode, like it's definitely another golden age for animation.
For sure. Well, all right, guys. There's our thoughts on the new Looney Tunes Cartoons show on HBO Max. If you haven't seen it, definitely give it a watch. I think most of you will get a kick out of it. Let us know in the comments. What was your favorite of these shorts, and if you're looking forward to more shorts coming here pretty soon, from what I hear. So thanks everybody for listening, and we will catch you all again next week with another episode.
See you then.
That's all, folks.
Again.
God bless Bob Bergen.
I love that video of him.
Where it's like, and this is why I have a paycheck.
That's why I have a job security.
That's why I have job security.
Thanks for listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter to keep up with the show. Join our Discord to chat with us, and subscribe to our Patreon for some cool bonuses. Links are in the description. We'll see you next time.